back to another video overview of a song that we can work on in our own practice, just in general. But this song is called When the Saints Go Marching In. This is a New Orleans traditional song, which kind of started off like originally as, of course, like a march, and then it became a kind of like almost like a theme song for the culture and the music in New Orleans. So When the Saints Go Marching In. What I had designed for us here is kind of a multi-step process. I made this my first year of teaching. We worked on it probably about the same time in the school year. So, toward the end of the school year, Jazz Appreciation Month time. And so what it is there's three different sections. We have a top part melody, a bass line, and counter melody. We're going to go through these very quickly, but you have this on video so you can kind of pause the video, backtrack, listen to a couple things, and see exactly what I was talking about for each section. So the first section is the melody. As you see, the melody as it's written is very the melody is written very simplistic, right? This is probably kind of like the original skeleton of what the melody is. So if I were to play it, it sounds like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeats again. So just like in some of our other songs, there's a pickup measure or pickup notes. Here, this one has 3 beats of pickup, right? So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 is the beginning. And there's also lyrics there too, in case you want to sing the song and sing along. You might be wondering what those symbols are on top of some of the notes. It varies per instrument. But say in the first full measure at the forward front repeat, there's a letter. Those are just simply chord symbols. So when someone's playing a say piano or something, they know what chord to play while someone's playing that melody to kind of support them. All right, cool. So that's the melody. Pretty simply put. There's something that I do want to kind of go over briefly, and it's a concept called paraphrasing. A lot of us know what paraphrasing is from maybe our English and literature classes, where we kind of are, summarizing a paragraph or summarizing something. Same thing for us here, right? We're sort of summarizing what the melody is. And how we do that is kind of make it a little more interesting by changing up the rhythms and maybe even changing up some of the notes. But even for now, we can just change up some of the rhythms. So say if I were to paraphrase the melody to make it sound, quote unquote, jazzier, or to give it a little more life, one simple thing that I could do is on the pickup notes for each phrase. So what I can do is just make those play each of those notes as in 2/8 notes. Or maybe what I'll do is I'll make the first 2 notes 8th notes and then the last one a quarter note. And then to even make it more interesting, give it a little more syncopation, which means maybe repeating notes or playing notes on the upbeats versus the downbeats. So at the Saints note, what I'll do is make that a dotted quarter note and then give it another 8th note tied to a half note rhythm. So it's like... I might throw in a small fill here and there. So that's kind of what, a quick summary of what paraphrasing is. So it's kind of like you have the freedom to play what you want, in a sense, based on what the framework is. So the main thing is, as you're changing the rhythms or just messing around with it, is to try not to lose a sense of form, right? Because we can change it, and then all of a sudden, this short, 16 measure song is 31 weird measures long. So, have some fun with it. We'll talk some more about this, maybe in a meeting of some sort or during class at some point. So next is the bass line. What that is kind of like with these New Orleans group, you'd have someone playing the melody. It might be the trumpet player, it might be clarinet, it might be trumpet, clarinet, guitar, whoever, and then someone playing the bass line. So let's just imagine the trumpet player is playing the melody. Bass line would be like a trombone, right? Trombone or tuba. So if I were to play that, just as written. It's a circular pattern. So what I would do in class is have maybe someone play the melody, maybe paraphrasing it on their own. You don't want to have too many people paraphrasing the melody at the same time because it's just going to sound like a mess because everyone's going to play something different, which is great, but at the same time is a little bit more challenging to hear the actual melody. And then have somebody or a section play the bass line. That way they're sort of playing the support. So when you have these two things kind of combined, we sort of get that New Orleans jazz feel. So, of course, it's difficult to play them both at the same time exactly as they're written on there, but you can actually do some sort of combination of melody and bass line, and then it's a really good basis for improvisation, which we haven't talked about too much yet, but improvisation, of course, is when you're, to summarize that definition, improvisation is like spontaneous composition where you're just making stuff up on the spot, which is super fun. It takes a lot of training and practice to get comfortable with that whole concept, but it's really cool. But these are sort of ways of training us to get comfortable and to know more about what we're doing as we're spontaneously composing music. It's not a new thing in jazz necessarily, because Baroque composers, Bach was definitely someone who was kind of improvising when he was playing a lot of his music. He might be in the church and he has to fill in time. It might be 30 seconds, might be 5 minutes, so he has to just improvise. So he knew plenty of theory to play chords and to play lines that go with those chords. I mean, something like this is very theoretically sound and structured. It makes a lot of sense, and it's just very specific scales, actually. So that's that. That's the bass line. That's the melody. The bass line could even be paraphrased too. So I had played it once as written. If I were to kind of maybe change it up a little bit, it might sound something like this: 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Right, so I was sort of jumping around a little bit there. So, because some of these are in split parts depending on ranges of what's comfortable, but generally the bass line would be the lower part, kind of playing the roots of the harmonies. If you turn it over to the back of the page, we have two different counter melodies. One, the top one is the slightly easier one. The bottom one is the slightly more advanced one. That's what it says on there. So number 3 is the counter melody. So you would have kind of a the melody, say in trumpet, hypothetically speaking, the bass line in trombone or tuba, and then 3, the counter melody would often be in the clarinet, because they would just start going through playing basically chordal patterns. So they would be playing the chords like stuff like that, right? But then, of course, doing much more advanced stuff than that too. So here is the counter melody, the top one, number 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So what I would have is, depending on how comfortable students felt, maybe either play them in solos or in sections and have one group play 1, one group play 2, one group play 3. We kind of have like a little jazz group playing. There is a separate piano and drum part where they're kind of playing clave patterns on the snare drums. And also going back and forth from the New Orleans march feel to like a swing feel too. So like ting, 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 ting on the right cymbal. So that's the simplified counter melody. It's less than one octave, so it's a little bit comfortable for beginner-ish students. The third one on the bottom, the counter melody advanced, definitely a lot more challenging, but a little bit more interesting. And what it is, kind of, it's going through scales and arpeggios based on the chord symbols that you saw on the first page. Here's the counter melody advanced. Yeah. So you might have, when someone's playing this, a combination of playing melody, bassline, counter melody, and it gives you, well, this gives you a good idea of how improvising can be very structured, and tools that you could use to improvise a lot more comfortably. And yeah, so just having some sort of background knowledge and melody, paraphrasing a melody, what's happening in the bass line, what's happening with a possible counter melody, then you can just have all sorts of endless possibilities for what you may want to do. So if I were to play a little bit on the melody here. So just sort of messing around a little bit based on the harmonies on the page there. I hope this was informative. I know it's might seem a little bit mind-boggling and challenging, but just to give you kind of an overview of the structure that's involved for jazz music. And that's why they have doctoral degrees in jazz specifically, because it's a very advanced style of music. So hope you enjoyed When the Saints Go Marching In. Bye.